Hello, I'm Rebecca Horan, and a very warm welcome to A Little Birdie Told Me, a podcast brought to you by rollercoaster.ie. In this season, I will sit down and chat to 16 pretty interesting people to discuss pregnancy, parenting, and everything in between. On this week's episode, I sit down with Cara O'Loughlin from Living Intuitively with Cara. Cara is a life coach, an eating disorder recovery coach, and a yoga teacher. We discuss eating disorders and Cara's own experience, so please seek help if you're affected by any of the content in this podcast. So I say this about all my guests. I love this guest. They've made an impression on my life. They're so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And I've said it so many times now, it seems like I'm just saying it, but I really mean it about every guest, and I really mean it about this guest today. So I really want to welcome Cara O'Loughlin, but Cara is Living Intuitively on Instagram. That's how you can find her, and is such an interesting woman. I met Cara through the deep need to get out and move my body after my second baby, and was encouraged by a mutual friend, to go to this wonderful retreat, which I found myself in with some wonderful women. I did the retreat, met Cara, had the best experience ever, started to go on about it on my Instagram, and then discovered that she was just so much more even than this retreat, that she had 3 children, that she was like retraining to do this, had been a teacher. You have so many things to do. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for having me.
I could have gone on for the intro, but then I think people want to hear from you, not me.
I talk a lot.
Yeah, no, I talk a lot, but it was such a it was a really empowering moment when I went to your retreat, because I really needed to get out of the house, and I was full on in breastfeed mode. And I remember going up to Greystones to do the yoga. I think it was a bit of yin, and then she makes these insane snacks. I'll talk to you about the retreat at the end. We must promote this. And then there's a lunch and a hike, and I just had the most amazing experience. And I think it's because of you, not necessarily all the elements. I think it's just who you are. So tell me a little bit about what you do, and then we can talk about your mama journey.
Thank you. Well, it's funny you say about the retreats. Like, I never labelled them as women's only retreats, but they've seemed to just take off that way. And it's not just with women with babies, but I would say the majority are mothers, you know. And I think it's that piece that you said, it's really difficult to leave the home, especially if you're feeding, or it's that guilt. And we've spoken about that, you know, by text, is that I think as all mums, we always have guilt, whether we have our kids in childcare, whether we don't, whether we take half an hour to go to a sauna and a coffee with a friend, or if we're stuck at home and, you know, we're breastfeeding. So there'll always be that guilt, but I'll always say to people, and on the retreats, you will be a better mum if you take time for yourself. And I've noticed that, like, we have 3 children under the age of 8. And when I left college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really wasn't sure. So I did BESS in Trinity, and I went to do property because my dad is a developer.
Oh my goodness, BESS or property?
I know,
okay, go on, yeah.
Yoga teaching, it's so mad. But I think it's that I never followed my dreams. I was following what I thought my dad wanted me to do. Not that he put that pressure on, but it was just, okay, I don't know what to do, so I'll just do what everybody else around me does. So I went to study property, and I worked in Savills.
Wow.
And I did a master's in construction.
Oh my God, what's happening?
What was I doing?
What is happening?
So anyway, about 6 months into it, I was like, I cannot read a map. What am I doing here? You know, I mean, I just had this.
What was it that you would develop? What was the course that you...
Do you know what it was? I went to a yoga class on my lunch break on Moser Street. And it was just the freedom that the teacher had. And it made me think, I want a life that enables me to have more freedom within my working day. You know,
you wanted to be free.
I wanted to be free.
You were in the shackles of following the course that would probably give you a great pay package, security, similar to what your dad did. You knew it would have longevity, it would span this, and we all do it. And you went to one. It's very funny that you're saying all of this, and you went to one thing, and there was this moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but you've really hit the nail on the head. I needed the security.
Yeah, we all do.
But I needed the freedom. So then...
And I think this is the problem with this new world of... And it's wonderful that we have women, you know, are working and out in the world. Like, nobody wants to be... tied to anything. I spoke about this for International Women's Day, but we're still tied to everything. So this feminism and this kind of empowered women and the breaking of the glass ceilings, in a way, some of it has really destroyed us because we don't feel that we can actually do something that's a bit more, I don't know, real to us.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us feel free still.
And I think it's as well, as a mother, you want to do it all, but you can't do it all. You can't do it all properly or do it all well. I did my yoga training 15 years ago. And at that time, like, yoga wasn't a big thing. As in, I went back to say to my dad, I'm going to go and do yoga training. And he was, you know, okay, are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Are you a teacher?
Same in my house.
You know? So, but he was so supportive, and he just wanted me to find freedom, I guess, and follow my dreams. So I had a wonderful English teacher.
It's so terrible that we follow a path, then we follow another, that we've been led down. And I know it's all out of the goodness of people's hearts. And I know all of this sound advice that we get, but sometimes the noise is a lot.
Yes. And I think I lost my mum when I was 15. So she was my main security, my main control, or my main area. When I lost her, I thought, okay, I have no control now. So I needed security, you know. So for that, I followed a road or a path that I thought I should. Again, that was giving me the security rather than listening to myself. I had no idea what my own voice was.
Was she a mother within the home? Like, you know, was she?
She was. I mean, we had 5. I have 4 siblings, so there's 5 of us. And my brother was the eldest, and he was born with a lot of disabilities.
Okay.
So she had it really tough, you know, and she... when we were growing up, she developed lupus. And at that stage, there was no transplant unit in the country. I remember her lobbying the president, the health ministers, everything. And the year after she passed, it came in. But I think that definitely made me not listen to myself. And now I've come more to the living intuitively.
But also the loss of a mother, it's such a, you know, the matriarch, like you've just said, she had all of these vulnerabilities and difficulties thrown at her. And she's her advocating for herself and her son and all of, and yet she is your world, because often the moms are the world. And, you know, I never knew this about you. And then you lose her at a really pivotal point in your life, you know, teen years, that midpoint where you're heading into, you know, God knows what. And you lose that, like you say, grounding, security, my mum. And so, of course, you're going to pick either the crazy road or the road that is super secure and safe. You're going to pick one, or that's just, you know, textbook. Yeah. And you follow your dad's line, you follow the line that perhaps other people have. And so that's really sad. Do you feel that you ever dealt with it, or was it the fact there's 5 kids and we've got to get on with it?
No, I didn't, because the day she passed away, I picked up my first eating disorder behaviour, like literally the night of her funeral. And that went on for 22 years. So 22 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a lot. This is why you are so special.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible. So so as a trauma, as a kind of a control, that day when all of this is happening and you're this vulnerable teenager, you decide to start this pattern because that's what will keep things in check.
And
that's
it's
so
funny,
sad, Cara.
back in that day, I mean, it was literally unheard of. There was one other girl in a 900 student school who we knew of was doing the same thing. So I was in boarding school. So for me, it was quite easy to hide and to hide behind. I went back to school after Mum passed 2 weeks later to do my junior cert, which I knew she'd want me to do it. She was a teacher, but it was probably the control you're talking about, you know, and the brush it under the carpet and we'll move on. So my way of dealing with it was the disordered eating.
If she had been alive, do you think you would have ever, do you think it was something that was perhaps like part of your nature to control? Do you think it would have been maybe happened at some point, or do you think absolutely not, it was because of her passing?
Gosh, that's a good question.
I know, but I often
really
think we say
question.
I was triggered because of this abuse, or I was triggered because someone passed away, I was triggered. And I wonder, actually, would that maybe have come out some later on in life as a way of control, or absolutely not?
No, you're 100% right. The trigger was the trauma. But we see now in my recovery and now working in it is that there can be personality traits, and they would be type A, high achiever, perfectionistic, you know, wants everything done a certain way, really tough with even positive criticism. And that was me.
Okay.
So I think that, let's say if somebody said a comment maybe about my body a few years after, that could have triggered it. A boyfriend, you know, breaking up with you, that could have triggered it.
Any rejection or lack of control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it have lasted quite so long? I don't know. Like at that time I was, you know, it was when women were going through or girls were going through the stage of menstruation, and I didn't get anything, not till I was 29 because of it. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So there was...
I did not know the podcast would take this route. I was so interested to talk about you. Seem the most incredibly inspirational mum, because I feel like I definitely struggle when it comes to two little ones and being there for them and being present. But to go back to something that has obviously affected every choice that you've made up until now and the path you've taken, which is an incredible path, I think, is really amazing. I'm so glad you're sharing this, but I'm so sad that you went through that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a story that a lot of women, we all know somebody or have someone close to us or have suffered like this. And it's usually, like you say, disordered or controlled eating, and it manifests in various ways. How did it manifest for you, and how did you hide it for so long?
Well, I mean, the reason that I'm speaking about this as well is, one, to give other people hope, and also it's made me the mum that I am today. I see it in my 7-year-old. She's nearly 8, and I see her with the exact same personality traits. And I feel like sometimes with friends who they would take her on a play date, she's a great personality, she's a big personality, but I think that there's a bit of a mask that she's an introvert extrovert, but doesn't accept the introvert part. That would have been me. And, you know, I need to be careful of her, you know, I need to watch her and explain to others that, yes, she might be sensitive. She might take a comment on that somebody would say more than somebody else. But so it's...
We always see ourselves in our girls.
You do, 100%. But so it manifested for me, it began as anorexia and restriction. And that lasted for as long as it could last. And I had to leave school during 6th year. I wasn't kicked out, but I was asked, it was suggested that it would be better for me to be at home or in a centre. So I went home, and it was just my dad, because my mum had passed, and my brother was there. So, but I did work very hard. Like, I locked myself in my room studying, I'd say about 5-6 hours of the day. So that lasted for a while, a long time. And then, you know, it's one side of the same coin, really. Then it flipped to bulimia through exercise. For me, it was exercise, and that's probably been my hardest to give up. And then I was teaching yoga for so long.
Of course, which is another slight form.
Yeah, exactly. But so I did go through a lot of different recovery centres. I went to Canada. I went to the Rutland.
So you were really sick?
Yeah.
This wasn't kind of a thing that could be dealt with. It wasn't this kind of short-lived, you know, she's going through hell, we'll get her counselling. This was, you were really unwell.
Yeah, but my dad was unbelievably supportive. My sisters were. It was hard on them because it looked like somebody looking for attention, but I just think I was so lost.
I know, it's terrible.
That was it, you know.
But they just have something to eat.
I know.
What's wrong with them?
I know.
And they're so thin, they look great.
Oh yeah, that's Well,
it's
I never got that,
isn't
but
it?
I got more from my dad. You look really well, and I would automatically think he's saying I've gained weight.
Absolutely.
I mean, he couldn't say anything.
Oh no, nothing is right, because you tell somebody, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and that they're looking really well, then there's a healthy thing. Oh, well, now I have to go back. Or you look too thin, and there's a kind of slight win. I mean, I know that sounds very strange, but there's a slight win. But that's hard for a man who's lost his wife. And men, I think, see things like this differently. Yeah. And he's dealing with his most beloved daughter, and she's coming home from school because they can't control it. They can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Very tough on him, or was he just wonderful? Or I don't know how my dad would have, you know, it's hard.
No, it was really
a different
tough
time
on him
as well.
Yeah, it was really tough on him, but I never remember him getting frustrated by it, honestly. Like, I went to New Zealand with him. This was fast forward a few years, and I was going out with the guy, and we went to Australia, and my dad came over to visit me in New Zealand, and I remember ringing the B&Bs to see what they'd serve for breakfast, but he never got frustrated. He just kind
loved
of
you.
Yeah. So, like, I was told for 10 years I wouldn't have children, you know. So then I met my husband at 29, and I had no cycle back. I mean, I literally got it at 15, and then I got it once, and then it went.
Did you not find it hard to have relationships with men, you know, physically and just emotionally when this was going on, or was it just part of the process? You just dated people, like you've obviously fallen in love with the man that you ended up marrying, but it's very hard to keep that secret going, to have physical relationship with people when you're so unwell.
Or
do you remember that?
You see, they did know, because the worst, like the weight part, if you're talking about the body, was probably the worst when I was teenage. And then it was quite easy to mask it, although lots of people think that an eating disorder is looking at somebody's physical weight. Actually, the sickest people are the people that are walking by that you might not know.
It's just internalized.
It's just the bloods, you know, or it's the bloods would show up what how sick a person is. But no, like I did have plenty of relationships with all of the past. I had the college days, the drinks.
So you lived a relatively normal life.
Oh, totally. Wow. But I just use other things like the exercise or the
fine, because you couldn't just do that, because people would really be shocked by that. Wow.
Yeah. So I met my husband at 29 and I went on HRT. It was suggested that if I wanted to have a baby, I had to. I remember going to a lady who was a specialist, and she said, "You just need to eat a Mars bar. If you just put on a little bit more, because everything else was normal."
Yeah, your egg count and your okay.
Yeah, but I just needed to get a cycle. That was it. So they said, and I'd be very. I wanted everything natural. That kind. It's called orthorexia, where you want everything perfect and the healthy food
and nothing contributing to helping. You want to do this on your own.
Yeah, and this was the part of my eating disorder that took so long to get through, because I'm in the wellness industry with yoga. And then orthorexia is quite connected to that, that everything is, you know, healthy,
clean,
pure food, clean, exactly. Routine,
this word
rituals,
that we hear, clean, perfect, everything.
Which is, it's just really, if it was said 20 years ago, it would probably just be another diet. So that's really hard to get
some
over.
Vegetables.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, that was, I went on the HRT, but I only needed to go on it for about 2 months, and my cycle came back, and then I got pregnant.
So you meet this man, what's the name of your husband?
Shane.
This wonderful man, Shane.
Yeah.
He just obviously is mad about you because you have so many things to be mad about.
Well, he was seeing somebody else at the time.
Sounds a bit like my
Then he heard I was a yoga instructor, and he's like, deadly.
That sounds exciting. She's probably in Bali most of the year. But he's obviously mad about you. I quite love the challenge that he took on, knowing I presume, that he knew you were probably a little bit sick.
Yeah.
Maybe physically he even might have known that you were, but he just adored you, I presume, and he wanted to make this work.
Yeah.
How did you find him? What was the game-changing thing about Shane that...
Well, I think at that stage I had come I was in recovery. I was with a place called the Merino Therapy Centre, which are which are really amazing in Dublin. Yeah. And I was, I was going there every week. So I was working so much on that, kind of separate to him.
Okay.
So then our lives were about the fun and the hike. We were both as you know, I'm so into the outdoors.
Yeah,
and
very healing.
Yeah, the second day, our first date was a coffee on Dunleary Pier. And I remember I was wearing a belly top, he said. And he was like, oh yeah, I like the belly top. So that was it. I think that was what sold him. And then the second date, we went up Jouse, and I fell on the boardwalk, and I literally had half my leg hanging off. There was blood everywhere. Geez. The little... it's the little boardwalk, the crevice little things got stuck in the leg. But he stayed. He literally saw the fascia, which is the fat of my leg, being sewn back together. So he stayed.
He was into it.
Yeah, yeah. He'd just moved back from Australia, and I think he had come out of a 5-year relationship as well. So, yeah, we were just
peas
we
and
knew
pods.
What we wanted. Yeah.
Was it hard for you through university, like you've said, relationships, your friends, to not have a period, which seems like something, and I know so many women who have cancers young and they don't have a period ever again because their womb is like, there's different ways that people don't, but the kind of normal thing is that you might have a period throughout your youth or your were you embarrassed? Did you hide that? Did you care? Was it talked about? Because it seems like such a massive loss of something for you for so long.
I think because I didn't have one, I didn't know what I was missing, and then friends would... you're quite naive then. Friends were like, you're so lucky. Mine is so heavy, this kind of thing. So, and then I was so in my life was the gym the runs. It could have been 3-4 hours.
But you didn't get triggered. You wouldn't go to a pharmacy. I remember when we were trying for a second baby and having all the losses, pregnancy tests would be very triggering for me. I just couldn't cope because I'd become very obsessed with buying them. Anyway, you didn't find seeing tampons or sanitary. You weren't triggered by anything at all. You were really living your own world here.
I was living in my own head.
Fine.
You're
So you
totally
didn't.
right.
Fine.
I wasn't in my body whatsoever. I think that's why it's taken so long to actually listen to my body and live in my body, you know. It's in my head. That's where an eating disorder lives, you know. To protect you from everything else, you go up into your head.
How are you now?
So, really well.
So this is, you met him
really
at 29.
Met him at 29, 30, 40. Now, I'm not 30. I'd love to be 30 still.
Yeah.
I'm 41 now.
Okay, so that's, over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you said that was a time you really wanted to get your period back at. How have you recovered in the last few years?
So this is the area that I really want to concentrate on with you, because as a mum, I had done so much recovery before being a mother. And I recovered in a body, before being a mother. So it changes.
Sure.
And I never realised how much it changes. And I remember in the Merino, one of the girls had said, you know that your body's going to change. And I was like, what does she mean?
Yeah.
And you're going through pregnancies and menopause and age. So with our wedding, it was amazing. And I loved every minute of it. And we actually got pregnant a year later. And my husband was absolutely shocked. I handed him that pregnancy test in a cafe and he nearly vomited. He was like, the first thing he said, and remember that he didn't think we would be able to have kids this easy.
Yeah.
He said to me, oh God, I thought we'd have another year
To have crack, some crack, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The shock.
They always get shocked, yeah.
But so the pregnancy was brilliant, and I was just I loved the tummy, I loved all of that part. But when baby came, our first was our daughter, I lost about 1.5 stone. I was very thin after the first pregnancy, breastfeeding. And I really struggled with all the comments.
Controlled eating, or was it
It
from
literally
being
just
sick?
fell out. I have no idea. I
Maybe
think I think my body just wasn't used to feeding so much, and she was taking so much out of me.
And you hadn't probably as much as others over the years. She was taking so much from you.
So much from me. Like, it actually looked like I was back in my disordered days. So what I struggled with was the comments of, oh my goodness, and the fear from people. You look so thin. I got high from those, and I thought, oh, hang on a second. Here it comes back again.
Go.
Now, do you know when somebody has postnatal anxiety or postnatal depression, it kind of felt like that in a way, is that I didn't know what I was doing. It was my firstborn. Everything again came back with, I have to do this perfectly. I have to listen to the dreaded bloody books. I have to live by the rules. So that manifested back within an eating disorder. Wow. So I remember going back to counselling, and I had my hands up. I know she was a wonderful therapist, and she actually had gone through an eating disorder all her life herself. And she did say to me, this is really common because you're overwhelmed. And that was simply it. An eating disorder has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with exercise, nothing really to do with the behaviour.
That's so important that we hear that. So an eating disorder is nothing. Glennon Doyle, whose podcast is We Can Do Hard Things, has always spoken about how she suffers the odd time. She's kind of, not throwaway, but she'll often say, with bulimia, when things are tough, and she's had to come on to her podcast recently, I think she's probably in her late 40s, and say, I have anorexia. I did not know I had anorexia. I don't see myself as an anorexic. I'm quite cross about this. Yeah. I've always just said that I control, people would say you're very little. Well, I just control what I eat, and I do a lot of exercise. I'm addicted to exercise. And sometimes when things are really hard, I've taken to being bulimic, but I don't see myself as, and she was like, I'm anorexic.
Yeah, because she's
And I've been anorexic all my life since I was 15. And wow, I am actually. And to be told that by this wonderful expert that she went to, she said was so traumatic.
Yeah.
She was cross. She rejected it. She took weeks to kind of get her head round of it. She said that's not the case. But she said when the bloods were done, when this session had started, when she got the help, they said this is absolutely. And she says now I feel like that's all I am. I'm an anorexic. And she said now I have to. She did the most beautiful podcast on it. So it's so vital. When I listened to that, I was like, gosh. So when you're saying this is not about the physical appearance of someone, this is a mental illness. Yeah. And it's so important that people know that.
Yeah, well, we would call it, when I was recovering through Merino, it was called eating distress. So it's what, or emotional distress really, is what is in somebody's environment that is distressing them. you know. So what emotion is going? For me, it was always the overwhelm. There was a brilliant one called HALT. So are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Or are you tired? And what are you eating on? What are you restricting on? What are you exercising
It's like the emotional eating that other people suffer from.
Yeah. And my therapist always said, O at the end for you. So HALT O. So you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or overwhelmed. For me, it was, I think with the babies, it was the overwhelm. Oh my God, I'm responsible for this child. You're up, sleep deprivation. So a lot of people coming to me, and even a lot of my friends are really struggling with emotional overeating. And that's what mine flipped to them, was the binging. And the binging is the most shameful, I feel, you know, because no one wants to talk about it, that they sat down and had whatever.
All the kids are in bed.
Yeah, and then feel like absolute crap the next day. Generally, yes, it can be from the emotions, hugely from the emotions. Stress is a major contributor. But the second one is that people are restricting during the day. And if you're trying to be clean, that's in that, I'm doing that in inverted commas.
She is.
Yes. If you're being clean or healthy or whatever during the day, generally you're going to do it at night because you're soothing your emotions, you know.
It's all still, things have calmed. The calorie count is huge because you're going for always the white or the beige or the grey. You're going for the bread and the pasta or the chocolate, and it's just that kind of like, oh, thank God I deserve it. Yeah. And then, like you said, you don't sleep properly because of what you've eaten. You don't sleep anyway because it's a baby or child, and then you wake up and you feel almost like you've a hangover.
Oh, the guilt,
or kind
the
of
shame,
depressed.
And how am I going to get this off?
And also, we know that food nourishes us. I always know that when I eat well, I'm not talking about clean, I'm talking about well. Like last night I had beans and spinach and hummus and tahini on cucumber, and I had sourdough, and it was this gorgeous fulfilling meal instead of going for like the quick fix. I felt so much nicer when I was sitting down to do my work, and it's not about shame, it's about actually nourishing ourselves. So you head into the first child, your husband is aware you're not well again or not?
Do you know, I hid it really well. I remember sitting in. So she was a toughie. She's amazing, but she was colic.
I think the first are. I think often just they are. And
she screamed her head off, and my husband had to drive her up the Dublin Mountains for 2 hours at a time in the middle of the night, or the Wicklow Mountains. So I just remember the overeating episodes.
Right.
And what happened to me is that I'd lost so much weight, and then it started to come to normalise back to my normal size, and that's where I struggled. So, but you know, I went back to regular therapy. I spoke up and I worked on myself as much as I could at that stage. But then I had a stroke. So yes, and people think, wow,
you are a little mine if I didn't know any of these things.
But it was actually from exercise. It's really rare. It's called a cartilage embolism. My neurologist at the time, he'd only seen 3. He said if I was 3 fingerprints down, I would have been paralysed. So I was very lucky. But it was literally from a Pilates move. And the questions, do you know, I went through months of, we couldn't find what had happened. I was downstairs on Stephen's Day. Looking back, I was probably quite stressed. My sister was over from Cayman. They were all staying with us. The questions my neurologist had asked, were you drinking enough water? Had you eaten? Were you stressed? These things that we don't think about. I literally did a forward bend, which is touching your hands off the floor. And I felt a tingling in the middle of my spine, so tiny. And I got up after to make porridge, and the pot dropped, and I lost all power in one arm. And the pain in my neck was, I cannot describe the intensity. Thankfully, Shane was upstairs with our daughter Darcy. And it was 6 months diagnosed. I was in agony. I could barely move from the bed. They told me I'd never practice yoga again. Finally, after 6 months of MRIs, they found a lesion in the back of my neck, and they saw the stroke was there. So again, it's quite a rare one. It happens a lot in animals. Anyway, I went through a lot of physio, and it was mainly for the grief, is this going to happen again? But they reassured me. They said it was an absolute freak accident.
Any lifelong damage to any parts of your body?
So if you see my left hand, that joint is gone. Wow. So in yoga, I can't do certain things I could have done before, like headstands, handstands. Just won't do it with the neck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you have been through it. Would you agree?
Do you know,
you have been through it.
But then sometimes I think so hasn't everybody, but it's how.
But it's a lonely. You've been through it. you have this wonderful family dynamic, I presume. Your mum passes away, you're in boarding school, you hide of serious illness.
Yeah.
You go through, you know, kind of your 20s and adulthood, you know, still sick and with relationships and just powering through. But all this sadness.
Yeah.
And then meet your husband, and then you have a child, and that's really hard, your first child. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
You have been through it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that I've had such amazing friends. I'd say to anybody, it's all about your friendships, your family. Shane, you know, we got pregnant like 7 weeks after I had the stroke. And I remember the neurologist going, how did you even do it?
How did you have sex?
Yeah. And I said, I wanted to have a second.
You
though.
did.
And I really wanted to have a second when Darcy was...
What age was she?
She was 2.5 in the end when we had Abby.
And she was kind of sleeping better? Were things improving with her?
She was brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, she was great. And she had just started... We sent her into... She was in creche, I think where your little ones go, actually.
Yeah.
And then I was teaching in a school half days. So when Abby came along... She was able to, when Abby came along, she was able to go into Montessori then at that stage for a few hours. Yeah. So I felt like I had a first baby, and that I had the time with Abby, you know.
So you're here teaching part-time in this big school in Ireland.
Part-time.
You're training, you also have all these other wonderful, you know, skills which you talk about in this, like these great things that you're working on. You're coming through your sickness again.
Yeah.
You have a second child.
Yeah.
I have just had a second child, not just, 18 months ago. I personally found the change from 1 to 2 earth-shatteringly hard. I think the first is, this is a personal experience, was very exciting.
Yeah.
We were overjoyed, in love, grateful, fun. I was a lot younger. And it was just a ball of energy and crack and plans.
Yeah.
And a lot of Instagram romantic moments with the 3 of us.
Yes.
Family of 3.
Yeah.
And then the second was an absolute nightmare to have, because we just went through hell for 2 years. And so when she came, there was just so much like, be grateful. You're so lucky. You're so lucky. And so I feel very much about Simone that she is very special and all of those things, but I also find it really hard. And I don't think you're allowed to say that, because you're also meant to be grateful, because you know so many people who are trying to have their first, or who are going through horrendous, you know, I didn't have to have any fertility treatments, for instance, but I really found the juxtaposition of going from one child with her needs and demands to 2, and I often talk about this on Instagram. I don't know whether you've noticed this kind of throwaway, sure, then I had 3 and then I want to have 4 and I might have 5 and you should have another, the throwaway comments about having a human. And I find that really tricky, because I personally think being a mum is the most important job that I have, and so I don't take it lightly. And so I find the change hard. Did you find the change or not?
No, I found the change.
Or are you just very natural about it? Because I just
honestly, I think 1 to 2 has been the hardest, 100%, because, you know, your husband is able to be there a lot for your first child. You're like a team, whereas when 2 come along, the team is not 50-50 anymore. It's more 70-30, 80-20 maybe. I don't want to say any more because that's really mean, you know, to my husband. But no, he's brilliant. But I do find that you are doing everything, and there is only one of you. So you feel like you're pulled as well by your role. You have a big job. You're pulled in so many different directions. And then you lose yourself. You know, so definitely 2 to 1, I felt I completely lost myself. I mean, I didn't start all this business up again until after I'd had my 3rd.
Okay, I didn't realise that.
So when Abby came along,
because I'm like, you're such a success.
No, when I went back with Abby, I went back to the school, and like, the school was a wonderful school, but I hated, for me,
working.
I was going through that driveway, which was a big commute for me.
Big commute, yeah.
For 5 years going, what am I still doing here?
So seriously, you were going 3 days, or how often?
5 days a week. And it was
5 days a week.
I left at 6:45 in the morning and I got home at 1:30. But you'll know this, if you're
That is
working
hard.
part-time, but you're in every day,
It's the same, yeah.
you're still coming home from working to being a mum straight away, and there's actually no in between.
I also don't marry the whole, I work part-time, it's easier, 3 days, or I do 5 days, like, because I do a 5-day full-time job. I actually seriously think the responsibilities, because if you take a 3 or 4 day nowadays in this world, you're probably still doing the 5th day in some form, at night maybe, or in the morning, or you're still doing something. And also, when you're a mum of 2 kids, there isn't a break. Like, I get 35 minutes every evening to go to a class or to
at
like at 8:30 or 9, you know.
Yeah.
And when everyone's asleep, and then I come home and go to bed and hope to God I get to sleep till 1 a.m. and then so if we look at that reality for many women, and some work shift work or nights, or their nurses are cleaner, and the actual realities of that, there's very little time left.
It's exhausting.
So it is exhausting. I can't believe you did that for 5 years.
But then I think people on the 3-day, if you have your child,
were you doing it for financial? Like, were you like, I have to, or did you just feel like you can't give up this job?
I think a major thing for me, and for somebody who would have that personality type, and many women actually, is that kind of martyr, people pleaser part.
I have to keep my job.
I just didn't want to let the people down.
Wow.
You know,
so it wasn't that you necessarily felt desperate to keep the job?
No,
or worried about
not money wise. No, I mean, yeah, there was the little bit of security, but then, like, when Finn came along, our third little fireball of a boy, like,
how many years is there between?
He's 3 years
between Abby and Finn.
About 2 and 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, my husband did not want a third. You know, he really didn't, and he struggled when
it's like an age old. Yeah.
Struggled when he found out we were pregnant, but then I think the fact that we found out on him and we knew it was a boy really helped.
It was a difference,
And he's mad about Finn. Oh my goodness, like, he's just mad about him. But he has been, like, he's a whirlwind. I mean, or a hurricane.
Compared to the girls?
Yeah, like, he jumps off. I mean, we have, you know, a breakfast bar and it's stone, and he jumps off that onto the floor since he's been about 8 months old.
So girls wreck your head, boys wreck your house. It's completely true.
Oh, and his tantrums are something else. I mean, headbanging the floor and then wondering why he's in pain.
Yeah, and then like, all's good.
Yeah. And then comes up and gives you this cuddle. I mean, they really are the snugglers. His hands are around my neck going to sleep.
Loves his mum.
But having said that, I felt I need some identity outside of being a mum. And I hadn't got that in the school because it wasn't my own thing.
Yeah.
I came through this eating disorder. It didn't come back after Finn.
Wow, it didn't.
Well, to the point it did, but not as strong as on the other girls.
Had you softened with it? Do you think things have just changed in your life?
Maybe my age. And I actually have been going to see a life coach who I went through recovery with, and who I was working with for a while, and then mine came back. And I've been seeing her for 3 years. And since I've been seeing her, that's it, like, you know.
So something has clicked.
Yeah.
Maybe you've worked through, maybe now that you're a mum, you're fulfilling, you know, a bit of what your mum did, and you're maybe emulating, because she sounds like she was obviously very special.
Yes, yeah.
And maybe you're kind of more at peace with things. But when you were in that midst of teens and 20s, you probably didn't have a place. Yeah. Or didn't feel like you had a place. I don't know.
Do you know what's funny is that, as you know, I've started a life coaching course in October, and I finish it at the end of May, and we have to read these books on the course. So they're all self-development and personal development. And they have been amazing in thinking. And one of them I was listening to on Audible last night. It's called Maximum Achievement. It's phenomenal. And he's talking about the number one step for personal success is peace of mind. And when he said it, and now I'm here, I have peace of mind. And I never had peace of mind.
Is that confidence in your abilities, or actually peace in what you do?
I think it's both. I think I have an identity now. The yoga is flying it. The retreats are flying it. I'm working now within the disordered eating realm, and that has been my dream.
Helping
all
others,
my life. And that's it. I did a vision board last night, because I did one about 10 years ago, and they're powerful. You write, you get magazine clippings, words, put them all down on an A3 big sheet of cardboard, pictures of other people doing talks or whatever that you want, and then you look at it for a few nights, maybe even once in the morning, once at night, and then you leave it and let the universe handle the details.
That's great. I've never heard about this.
It's called the law of attraction. Okay, so my husband, sometimes they say, oh, I'm worried about finance and this way. I'm like, but then you're inviting it in. So you are abundant, you know.
That's so interesting.
So, yes. So
I love to worry, because I think it really solves things.
No,
it doesn't solve
just the opposite.
Anything.
So it's bringing
my husband
worry.
doesn't worry about stuff. I worry, and I take all the worries, and he's like, cool, how's that going for you?
Yeah.
How's that going? Are you feeling good? I'm like, yeah, I'm worried about everything. I'm worried about childcare, I'm worried about the school, I'm really worried about money, I'm worried about work. And he's like, cool, that's just a lot. You know, and then I let it go, because I listen to music or podcast. Music is really good for me, and I go off and do exercise, but it's so short-lived, because I think I've always just lived off worry. It's just been my driving force.
Yeah.
It's great.
And if you switch it
it's
to
great.
I am abundant,
yes,
or I am living the life that I want to live.
So
These
interesting.
it does come true. I see it with people that I'm working with, you know.
Do you feel like there's a little bit of in this wellness, which is, I think Irish people particularly need it, because I think we've just so much long-lived trauma, and we are very self-deprecating as a nation. We don't look after us. I think there's been a lot in Irish people's souls. I just think we're not very good at minding ourselves, right?
Yes.
And the martyrdom that you talk about, and the matriarchs, and just what women have suffered. And so now there's this great new pouring of these wellness and health, and it's good, okay? It's really vital, and I have definitely leaned in. Do you worry a lot about the kind of things, and, you know, I'm putting this out there because I don't know enough about it, that we say, you know, manifest or dream up or vision, and actually for the everyday woman who's just stuck in hell or in a shitty relationship, or just not coping with postpartum depression, or maybe has a child with additional needs, that they're just stuck, none of this helps, because they're like, I can't manifest my way out of the everyday. So what would you say to people who question a lot of it as kind of, you know, woo woo, or they're like because you have been through so much, so you are someone that we can kind of can relate to her. What would you say to people who are kind of find it a bit scary?
But I think is, what is the alternative?
Love
like
it.
For those 10 years that I was stuck in that mindset, well, 20 really, if I look over, was it helping me get out of it? 100% not. So once I started working really with a coach so a coach doesn't bring, yes, you go into the past, you delve into it, okay, because you have to, if it's unlocking, you know, if you want to unlock your future. But really we're looking at what is going on now. What thoughts are you having that's making you feel the way that you are? And then it's making you behave the way that you do, you know? And until you kind of start to look at somebody's mindset, nobody can have what they want in the future if they're so stuck in this is horrendous. Listen to the words, this is horrendous. Can't get out of bed. I'm so depressed. Life is shit. My body is horrible.
I look awful.
This child, you just can't get out of that. So I would encourage anybody who's feeling like that to talk about it, to look for an inspirational coach that will lead you in the right directions of books. But really, I say even in my sessions, you are not here to meet me. You're here to meet yourself. Often people just need a sounding board. They need somebody to listen to them, ask them the questions that, like, what's blocking you? What's stopping you from thinking that way?
But it's the compassion. It's like when someone says, you look really beautiful today, which doesn't matter. I mean, I know all of it's a bit like, it's the aesthetics don't matter, but it's also nice to be paid a compliment. Or you're doing really well, and it's like, I'm not, or I look terrible, or I'm fat, or and it's like, we can't help it. It's like this awful negative narrative, and we're just so used to spewing it out. But actually, like they're saying, those millions of bad thoughts in a day are really detrimental. Like, you could be doing the most incredible gym workouts, yoga sessions, eating the best of foods, you know, feeling like you're doing all the right stuff. But if you are thinking negatively literally all day, that ain't good.
Like, we've 85,000
That's a stressor, I presume.
A day,
yeah.
You know, and if 80,000 of yours are negative, you're going to feel pretty crap. And then you're probably going to behave in that way, emotional overeating, you know,
Bad
killing yourself at the
form,
gym, whatever that is, or taking it out on other people. Like, diet culture as well has a massive, you know, has had a massive impact on us all, as in telling us what to eat, what is good, what is bad, what is healthy, what is not healthy. And it's meant that none of us, we find it really difficult to listen to ourselves.
To make a decision.
Yeah, what do you really want? And if you have what you really want and you do what you really want, you know, you're going to stop when you've had enough. You know, and I'm talking about food in that way, but as well in movement, you know. I mean, be intuitive with the movement. If you're tired, listen. You know, if you just want to do yoga, you see here I'm saying if you want to do yoga and you don't actually want to go to the gym, do that. Listen.
Just
listen.
stretch, move.
Yeah.
How are you finding being a mum to 3 children under 8?
So
Your husband works full time, does he?
Yeah, he does. It is full on. I mean, I know when you said that, and I know you've 3 children, some people say 4 and 5. If everybody can hear, like, Instagram is not reality. I've been in people's houses with a lot of children and go, this is not what it really looks like. This is what it really looks like, you know.
Oh, my child
It's
was
madness.
naked in the hallway this morning. My 5-year-old, hopefully she'll never hear this because I wouldn't want to shame her, lying in the hallway screaming because the dress wasn't clean for school, while a man came up to fit blinds, a man in his 60s who I didn't understand was coming at that time, because Jason decided not to tell me that at 8 a.m, rang the bell, someone let him in. I think Jason let him in, I didn't let him in, and my child is butt naked screaming about this dress, this Encanto dress. She's never seen Encanto, P.S. Whilst the baby, who gets really upset if she's upset, is crying on top of her because she can't cope. So Simone is lying on her bum. Oh, no, you know, and I'm like, get up, like this is horrendous. And then the dog is barking because someone's come in the door and he's got serious issues with anxiety. Obviously, we're all just like feeding it, and this man was just shocked.
Yeah,
and I felt like going, suck it up, brother. Like, he was so shocked. He was like, oh, is everything? I was like, no, this is just standard, trying to just get out the door. And I was like, gee, and I was pulling her and trying to pull so he could walk past us.
Yeah.
And I was like, cover your... Oh, and then I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. She's only a 5-year-old. But it was just the extremity.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I got into the car to leave and I was like, oh, now I'm breathing, yet I'm sitting in traffic. So it's kind of comical, but it's not.
But I think it shows what reality is, and that we all lose our temper. We all give out. You know, it's...
We all have naked children.
Yeah, we all have naked children and 60-year-olds, you know, men coming in at 8 in the morning. No. But no, it is full on. It definitely is. Like, I love it, and I find that for us, it is the perfect number. But there are so many times that I also say, oh my goodness, it would have been easier with 2. Okay. Like, and I do say that, you know, and my girls will go, no, I really want 3, you know, but it is, you know, I always wanted that number around the table, and I think it is a stage. Finn is only 2 and 4 months,
young,
and he is going through that 2 to 3. We've seen since Abby has hit 5, it's like, you know, I love going to restaurants with the 2 girls chilled, now, not so much with Finn. No. But we'll get there. Everyone will get there. It's
all
just
temporary.
to ride the waves, yeah.
How are you in your life now? You're doing so many, like I said, I met you a year ago maybe when Simone was a few months old, and I could barely get out for an hour because I had this huge anxiety about leaving her with my husband and the guilt and all of this, and we've spoken about that. And what you do, the space that you create, and I really love the pressure, like you can pay for a course or pay for a bit of it or come to a yoga, and you're like, come and do what you want to do. There's this not this awful feeling of like you've messed up or you've failed at that today, Rebecca. You've actually said, well done, you did that. Tell me about all the things that you were doing whilst parenting, but you were doing all of these great things. You're no longer a teacher.
No, I've left teaching, but I am giving school talks on disordered eating.
Wow, what
I've just done one last week, and it was amazing. I mean, they asked me after would I give a talk to the teachers so that they were singing off the same hymn sheet. I'm hoping to do parent talks on disordered eating because I think, you know, it will really help parents on what to say in the family home, what not to say, what can trigger someone, what can't, because we're all learning, you know, and not all of us have somebody who will have that tendency. And it is everywhere at the moment, you know, like there's what's the statistics as well? It's one of the highest, it is the second highest mortality rate. And there's 10,000 a year that pass away from an eating disorder. And it is getting younger and younger. So we do need to talk about it and open up and share about it, you know.
I'm very conscious of never speaking about my physical appearance in front of my daughters. I have 2 girls, which is tricky, obviously, because we know how important and how a woman, our currency is based on how we look as women. We know that this is what we've been fed for donkeys. And I'm very conscious that I might be feeling whatever I feel, which isn't great anyway, but I will never do it in a mirror in front of her. And like, she'll always be like, you're looking great in that going out, Mum. And I'll be like, thanks. So we don't do that. And I'm also conscious that when she's in snack mode and it's like tons of fruit or carrots in the evening, it's after. And I also try not to be too restrictive where I'm scared. I'm like, oh God, she's eating. I also have to, I have a challenge with that, but you're correct. It's just being aware of it because I think in the day people weren't aware and they were like, she's going to put on weight. She's fat. I mean, I have so many awful stories from my youth of grown men saying, you have a bit of a belly there, or did you, you've grown, you've got just like the things that were said to us that you just couldn't say now.
I think years ago, and it was even a grandparent saying, oh, look at that frock now, it's a bit tight in there.
Or you've filled out, or...
People are more aware nowadays not to say, most people are, not to say those kind of things. But look, I always say in my talks, we were all born intuitive eaters. So as babies, we knew when we were hungry, we knew when we were full. What has happened along the way to stop that? Our environment, education, diet culture, social media. We need to get back to that. You know, step out of your girl's way, let them start to listen to their bodies. You know, we can provide the food, and at the meals and the snacks, let them decide on when they've had enough, and if they like it or if they don't. Because all we're doing is taking over their control of their own bodies.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing of like, you'll have your spinach in the morning if you don't have it now, or until you finish this meal. And that's so dangerous. I mean, I don't do that, but I would be very like, do you think you've had enough?
But I'd like to talk, you know, to arrange parent talks for that. I'm teaching yoga in Bray.
And she is... I have gone to so much yoga in my 20s and 30s. And when I was addicted to exercise and kind of punishing the body in my 20s, I would do it alongside kickboxing, you know, and when I was trying to get ready to get married and in my 30s. And I would always do it, right? It was always part of, but it was part of a toning. It was an aesthetic thing, right? Oh my goodness, you have got to attend one of Cara's yoga classes. It's just, you actually leave yourself and the room, and you're not so worried about what she's wearing. Is she doing it better? Is her move stronger? Is she thinner? You don't even think about the room. It's so special. Her voice is mesmerizing. You really feel like you've had a proper workout if you want to, and then you also feel just so chill at the end that you don't want to leave. You are so good. But she's also got some magic about making treats.
Yeah, so my
that
retreats,
everyone talks about.
I do a monthly retreat from Wicklow. Well, it's generally Wicklow, and we do a yoga class. We have a hike. We have a full lunch, and then I make a box of treats, and then we do a sauna and a very cold sea swim.
The box of treats are infamous.
Pretty good.
Infamous and famous and legendary. You are so special. I think you have, so many wonderful women that surround you that talk about you because they really want to lift you up, because you are so special and you touch all of us in various ways. I was so excited to have you on, and thank you for coming into us, Cara. And keep an eye on, I'll make sure to tag Cara and all of those things, but you're just doing great work.
Thank you so much. And you are so special.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cara.
Thanks, Rebecca.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Little Birdie Told Me, and if you did, it would be wonderful if you could subscribe to the podcast.